ಭೀತಿ ತೊರೆಯುವ ನಾವು ಪರೀಕ್ಷೆ ಬರೆಯುವ ಪರೀಕ್ಷಾವಾಣಿಯ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿ ಕಲಿಯುವ
ಖಾಲಿ ಜಾಗ ಭರ್ತಿ ಮಾಡಿ ಹೊಂದಿಸಿ ಬರೆದು ಲೆಕ್ಕ ಮಾಡಿ
ಚಿತ್ರ ಬರೆದು ಭಾಗವ ಹೆಸರಿಸಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗೂ ಉತ್ತರಿಸಿ
ಪಾಸು ಫೇಲು ಗೆಲುವು ಸೋಲು ಜೀವನ ಎಲ್ಲಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಮಿಗಿಲು
ಅಂಕಗಳೆಂದರೆ ಮೇಲಿನ ತೊಗಟೆ ವಿದ್ಯೆ ಅದರ ಒಳಗಿನ ತಿರುಳು ಭೀತಿ ತೊರೆಯುವ ನಾವು ಪರೀಕ್ಷೆ ಬರೆಯುವ ಪರೀಕ್ಷಾವಾಣಿಯ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿ ಕಲಿಯುವ ಪರೀಕ್ಷಾವಾಣಿಯ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿ ಕಲಿಯುವ ಪರೀಕ್ಷಾವಾಣಿಯ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿ ಕಲಿಯುವ
ಪರೀಕ್ಷಾವಾಣಿ.
Namaste children, a warm welcome for all of you for this session. Here is a triangle and one more triangle smaller to it. Don't you think they have got same shape? Once they have the same shape, we all know that they must be similar triangles. So, today let us try to understand how we can construct a triangle which is similar to another triangle given a scale factor. This is in fact chapter number 6 under the chapter constructions. Okay. Also we will try to understand how to construct a pair of tangents to a circle from an external point. So, here is a tabular column showing all the details, the statistics of the entire chapter. So, it has only 2 constructions with 4 examples, word examples and 14 problems. So, if you can learn this, so there will be 2 questions, 2 constructions in the examination for 5 marks. This one for the triangle, similar triangle construction for 3 marks. And this tangent construction will be for 2 marks. Totally you will going to get 5 marks for this. Children, here is a small statistics of how many constructions we have done so far from say from 7th to 10th standard. So, maybe around 17 constructions so far you have understood, you have constructed it. Have you ever bothered the justification part? So, today we will also learn the justification for the 2 construction that we are going to do in the 10th standard classes. Thereby you can do the justification, try to do the give the justification for all the remaining 15 constructions. Okay? Yes. Now, this construction requires some prerequisites. So, okay, some previous knowledge you require. So, 3 prerequisites are there. Number 1 is the concept of similar triangles. Okay, what are similar triangles? These are the triangles having the same shape. If the shapes are same, we say that they are similar. So, here is a cardboard cutting, kg cardboard cutting. You can see here 2 equilateral triangles are there. See, they have got the same shape. So, these are called as the similar triangles. No doubt this is bigger and this is smaller, but the shapes are same. And one more pair of triangles you can see, here are 2 isosceles triangles with 70 degrees each. They have got same shape and these again are called as similar triangles. You can see here 3 right angle triangles are there with 90, 65, 25 and 90, 65, 25. They have got same shape. Okay. These are called as similar triangles. So, if the triangles have the same shape, they are called as similar triangles. Here also you can see a pair of triangle ABC and triangle PQR. You can easily make out they have got the same shape. Okay. when they have same shape, what about the angles? Look at the angles 40, 60, 80. Here also 40, 60, 80 only is there. So, these triangles are called as similar triangles, and you can see this angle is equal to this, and 60 is equal to 60, 80 is equal to 80. So, three angles of this triangle are respectively equal to three angles of this triangle. Therefore, the fundamental property is, if two triangles are similar, then they will be equiangular. Okay. If there, whenever you can see equiangular triangles, you can simply conclude that they have got same shape. When they are equiangular only, then only you can expect them to be similar, but not otherwise. So, this is a fundamental property. So, in geometry, in mathematics, we talk of lot of symbols. So, this is the symbol for a similarity. So, okay, a sleeping S if you write, this should be read as similar to the other triangle. Okay. Now, you can see another important, the first and the foremost important property regarding the sides. Now, here is a right angle triangle PQR, here is another right angle triangle DEF. Now, compare the respective lengths of the respective sides. 2.5, this is 5, this is 2, this is 4, this is 3, this is 6. You can see that this side D is twice this. Similarly, even this side is also twice this, and finally this side DF is again twice this. So, therefore, if you take the ratios like this, so since they are similar, so PQ divided by D, this side by this side is equal to this side by this side is also equal to this side by this side, and we say that each of them is equal to some constant K, and in this case it is just 2 only, which means that these three sides are exactly twice the sides of triangle PQR. So, therefore, the fundamental property is, if two triangles are similar, no doubt they will be equiangular. So far as the sides are concerned, the corresponding sides, the respective sides will be always in a proportion. This is called, K is called proportionality constant. Okay. Now, frequently we use the term proportion. I thought it would be worth to say something about what do you mean by proportion. You know this, proportion is nothing but equality of two ratios. A, B, C and D are said to be in a proportion if A by B is equal to C by D, or you can write it this way also, A is to B, E is as to C is to D. So, if two different ratios are equal, then we use the term proportion. Okay, now compare these two triangles. Oh, these two triangles, they have the same shape and also the same area also. So, this pair of triangles are called as congruent triangles. So, congruent triangles are the triangles having the same shape as well as the same area. Okay. So, in this image, the same image you are seeing, this is the symbol for congruency, children. So, three lines should be drawn at the top, sleeping S has to be written here. These are called congruent triangles and these are called similar triangles. So, this is the symbol for similarity. In the previous textbooks, we used to write this as the symbol for similarity. Now, in the present textbook, we are using this. There are two symbols are there for the similarity concept. So, congruent triangles are similar triangles. These two triangles are similar because they have got the same shape also, but these two the similar triangles, if you compare them, they are not congruent triangles. So, the converse of this is not true. So, congruent triangles will be similar triangles also, but similar triangles need not be congruent triangles. Okay. So, similar triangles means same shape, they will be equiangular triangles and the corresponding sides will be in a proportion. So, you can form something like a cycle like this regarding the definition and the two fundamental properties. Okay. Now, Now let us go to the second prerequisite, children. So that is something about set squares. You must have seen in our instrument box, see these two are provided to us. In each instrument box you can see these two right angle triangles. These two are called set squares. Okay. Now this is a right angle triangle. Okay, this is 90, this is hypotenuse. Okay, this angle is 60 and this angle is 30. So this is called 30 degrees set square or 60 degrees set square. The other one is an isosceles right angle triangle, 90, 45, 45 degrees. So these are the two set squares that is provided in our instrument box. We need to understand for what purpose it is given and how we are going to use in the present construction. So what are the usages? So the number one is you can see the images here, the two set squares once again. So the angles are also been marked now. So 30, 60 and this is 45, 45 degrees. Okay. So these are the two images you are seeing regarding the set squares. Okay. These are the set squares which are in the shape of right angle triangles provided in the instrument box. Never say it as a geometry box, it is an instrument box. What are the uses of this? Why one of them is 45 degrees and the other one is 30 or 60 degrees? Have you ever thought about this, children? Please think about this, worth finding the answer for this. Okay. One of the uses of the set square, you know that it is used to draw a parallel line to a given line. Let us learn how to do this. So take one set square, any one, whichever you want, you can select one. So now let us take this one only. So this has got three edges. See, this is one, this is second, this is third. You can take any one of the edges. Say here is a line, imagine here is a line for which we have to draw something parallel here, somewhere here. So take one of the set square and keep one of the edges parallel to the line for which we have to draw a parallel line. Now fix it properly. Now take another set square and keep the support like this, hold it tightly. Now gently you move this, keeping this in the same position tightly so that it remains parallel to the given line. See, slowly you can move, keeping the another set square below in the same position. Once again you can see. Now when it comes here, now you bring this second set square little like this without any further movement, without shaking. So with this, in this way you can draw, now you draw a line here, you will get a line parallel to this. This is how you can use the set square to draw parallel lines. Okay, fine. Now having understood the usage of set squares, let us learn how to divide a line segment in a given ratio, say m:n, say 2:3, 5:7, whatever may be. So let us draw a line AB. This is say about maybe 12 centimeter, whatever may be, it will be given. Now we want to divide this in this ratio m:n. Okay, so say maybe 2:3. So now you draw this ray, call this as AP, making a very small acute angle, as small as possible. Draw a ray like this. Okay, if you draw a bigger angle, it would be very difficult for you to run the set squares. So keeping that point in your mind, draw a small acute angle, as small as possible, maybe around 20 or 25 degrees. Now with A as center, take compasses. With the help of compasses, okay, you with A as center, with M as the distance, you cut an arc, let this cut the ray at X. Okay, now with X as center, with N as the distance, as the radius, you cut once again the same ray, you call it as Y. Now this xy is n units. Okay, now join y and b. Okay, now join y and b. Now with the help of the set squares, you have to draw a line parallel to this through this point x. So for this, hold one of these set square like this, bring one of them and take the support from below here, hold it tightly and hold this also tightly. Now release this, slowly you try to move in this direction. Okay, and this one also, once it moves for some distance, then you can hold this tightly in this position and move this again in the same direction. Okay, this way if you do it, you have to move till this point. Once you get this point X, you stop and draw a line like this. So call it as I. Now this line XC is parallel to YC. So now we have drawn XC parallel to YC. Now you take the scale and measure AC and CB. You will see that it will be in this ratio m:1. If AX is to XY is m:1, AC will be CB is also will be equal to m:1. Can you reason out for this? How this is possible? Okay, let us try to understand this. Now a bit of justification. Now in the same figure without any set square we are seeing now. Now once in this triangle ABY we have XC, we have drawn parallel to YB. So when XC is parallel to AB, then AX is to XY. Okay, then if AX is to XY is m:1, don't you think AC is to CB will also be equal to m:1? It's all because of basic proportionality theorem. So nicely we have applied basic proportionality theorem to divide a line segment in a given ratio. Okay. So let us try to recall this basic proportionality theorem or Thales theorem. So one image is coming here. He is Thales from Miletus who lived around 600 BC, and he is the first person to start the proof for the theorems, whatever we are writing, that kind of proof. This is the person Thales has started. So a great salute to this gentleman, this mathematician Thales. Okay. Now let me state this theorem once. A straight line drawn parallel to a side of a triangle divides the other two sides proportionally. So the same thing you will see in this image, a bigger image. So this one DE is parallel to BC, then AD divided by DB is equal to AE by EC. Okay. So now the third and the last prerequisite is this: to construct an angle equal to a given angle using compasses and scale. We will give an angle, we will give the measurement also. You construct it with the help of say the protractor. Now keeping this protractor here, say we have drawn an angle equal to 30 degrees. Now the question is, you have to construct another angle here such that it is also equal to 30 degree, but without using protractor, using scale and compasses only. So how it can be done? So first draw a line segment QP, take compasses. So now with B as center, with some convenient radius, you cut an arc like this. So this arc will cut AB at X. Okay, with the same radius, with Q as center, you cut an arc like this here in this figure. Now with X as center, with this much as radius, okay, you cut this previous arc. This is the point where this previous arc is cutting BC. So now call this point as Y, with XY as a radius, with M as center, cut this previous arc. So call this point as N, join Q1 and extend it. So call it as R. Now measure this angle PQR, it will be also equal to 30 degrees. So without the help of protractor also, we have constructed another angle equal to this angle using scale and compasses. So this is one of the important prerequisite for the similar triangle construction. If you want, you can verify here also, keep the protractor and see whether this angle measures 30 degrees or not. So for this also you can give justification. So with these three prerequisites, we are now in a position to construct similar triangle. Okay. So there is one important concept called scale factor. So this is called Anupatamsha in Kannada. What do you mean by the scale factor? Okay, it is the ratio of two things. In the numerator, it is the sides of the triangle to be constructed divided by the corresponding sides of the given triangle. The ratio between these two is called the scale factor. So, let me try to explain with the help of an example. Let us suppose that the scale factor is 3/4. What do you mean by this? It means each side of the similar triangle so constructed must be, it should be 3/4 of the given triangle. This is the meaning of the scale factor. So, a triangle will be given, the sides and angles will be told to you, we have to construct that, then the triangle so constructed must be 3/4 of the triangle which is given to us. That is the meaning of the scale factor 3/4. So, with the help of these two figures, we can still understand, we can go further. So, here these two triangles undoubtedly they are similar to each other. Say triangle ABC is the given triangle whose measurements are given to us. So, according to the scale factor 3/4, say we have constructed triangle DF. This is the newly constructed similar triangle. So, let us try to understand what is the meaning of scale factor. The meaning is this. So, now DE corresponds to AB. So, the length of DE must be 3/4 of this side. Okay. EF corresponds to BC, the length of EF must be again 3/4 of BC. It is needless to say that this side, the third side, should also corresponds to this, and the length of DF must be 3/4 of C. So, this is the meaning of scale factor. With these informations, we can now venture into the construction of the triangles. This can be done in two stages. So, stage number 1 is this. First, we need to construct the triangle as per the given data. The sides and angles will be given. You know the triangle has 6 elements, 3 sides and 3 angles, out of which 3 particular elements will be given to us. So, you know this. We know that there are 4 ways of constructing a unique one and only one triangle. This is discussed in 9th standard chapter number 7. They are, you know, SAS, 2 sides and an included angle, 2 angles and a side, and then 3 is the length of 3 sides, and finally right angle, hypotenuse and a corresponding side. So, these are the 4 possibilities in which the sides and angles will be given. As per these measurement, in stage 1 we have to construct the triangle. In stage 2 we now construct the similar triangle to it according to the given scale factor with the help by dividing. This can be done in 3 ways. We can divide the base or any one of the sides of the triangle as per the scale factor using scale, compass, set squares. Okay. Using these things, you can divide any one of the side, but in this case today let us try to divide the base only according to the scale factor and complete this construction. So, scale factor. So, having understood scale factor, scale factor can be, there are 2 cases are there. It can be lesser than 1 or it can be greater than 1 also. There are 2 cases are there. Let us try to deal with these 2 cases separately. So, let us consider case 1. So, for this here is an example. Okay. So, the scale factor is 3/4. In such a way we need to construct the triangle. So, first construct this triangle ABC as per the given data. Now, we are going to start the construction. Whatever construction we do from here onwards, let us do it in the broken lines, saying that it is not given in the problem. Okay. Draw a ray like this. So, call it as BP, making a small acute angle here. Now, take the compasses and in the denominator you can see 4. Divide this into 4 equal parts, B1, B2, B3, B4. So, BB1 is equal to B1, B2 is equal to B2, B3 is equal to B3, B4. Any convenient radius can be taken and make it into 4 equal parts. Now, join this B4, the last point, with the C, with the point C. Now having joined this, so look at this numerator 3. 3 is there. So B1, B2, B3. B3 here, third point is here. So you, with the help of set square or the compasses, draw a line here like this, which is, you call it as C dash, and you can call this, you can call this as C dash, and you can draw this using set squares or compasses. So draw C dash B3 parallel to CB4 like this. Either you use set square or compasses. So this we have not told, we won't tell you anything in the question paper. You can, it is just your matter of your convenience. You can use set squares or even compasses. The last stage. Now through this point C dash, draw a line like this parallel to AC once again and call it as A dash. So A dash C dash is parallel to AC, again using set square or compasses. Now children, A dash B C dash is our required triangle. Okay. So this is the construction when the scale factor is less than 1. So let us take the second case, scale factor is greater than 1. For this, here is an example, scale factor is 5 by 3. Okay. In such a way I have to construct this. So here is an example. As usual, stage 1, construct the triangle ABC as per the given data, then draw a ray like this, call it as B, a ray BP, making some small acute angle here. So numerator is 5, divide this into 5 equal parts with the help of the compasses. Okay. So these are the 5 points on this ray. So BB1 is equal to B1 B2 is equal to B2 B3 is equal to B3 B4 is equal to B4 B5. Now don't join B5 and C, this is the way you go wrong. So look at the denominator 3, B1, B2, B3. So third point is here, you should not join B5 with C, you should join B3 and C now, taking with the help of a scale. So join these two children, then extend this BC a little on the right side. Okay. What is that we have to do now? We have to draw a line parallel to this through the point B5. Now call this point as C dash. So C dash B5 is drawn parallel to CB3 using set squares or compasses. Finally, you have to extend this BA. Extend this BA and then draw a line parallel to AC through C dash like this. So AC is parallel to this, call it as A dash. So A dash C is parallel to AC. Now A dash B C dash is our required triangle. So this is how we are going to do when the scale factor is greater than 1. Here is a small comparison of the both cases children. Look at this. So scale factor is 3 by 4, 5 by 3. So first we need to construct the triangle as per the data. So draw a ray here, here also draw a ray here. So make here 4 equal parts and here also make 5 equal parts. Okay. Now having done this, we need to join now B4 and C. Here we have to join B3 and C. Please observe this carefully. Join the fourth point and C. Here join the third point and C. Now extend this a little and this one also. Okay. Now draw a line like this parallel, call it as C dash, parallel to CP. Now draw a line C dash P parallel to CB3, call it as C dash. Now draw this line A dash C parallel to AC and here draw a line like this A dash C dash parallel to AC. So have a comparison and try to do this in examination. Read the question carefully whether it is scale factor is less than 1 or greater than 1 and accordingly please complete this problem. In both the cases A dash B C dash is our required triangle. Here A dash B C dash is our required triangle. So now we have to do the justification part. Okay, using AA criterion of similar triangles. Using this we will do the justification. For this you should recall corresponding angles. What are corresponding angles? Here are two straight lines parallel. This is one transversal. This angle and this are corresponding angles. There are four pairs are there, this and this, this and this, and finally these two are called corresponding angles. There are four pairs are there, and you know that corresponding angles are equal. So this is one of the important prerequisite for the justification. Now here also you see in the bottom side, you see that C dash B3 is parallel to CB4. Therefore, once you consider this as the transversal, then this and this became corresponding angles. If you consider this side as the transversal, this angle and this angle became corresponding angles. Correct? Similarly, in this triangle, in the upper case, when you call this, these two sides are parallel, and if you consider this as the transversal, these two are corresponding angles, and if you call BC as transversal, these two are corresponding angles. So now this is equal to this angle is equal to this, and this is the common angle. Don't you think this triangle BC dash B3 and BC B4 are equiangular? The moment they are equiangular, they became similar. So this is one pair of triangle. And what about this BB3 is to BB4? It is 3 is to 4. Therefore, BC dash is to BC should also be 3 is to 4. Now here triangle A dash BC dash is equiangular to triangle ABC because of corresponding angles. So these two are similar triangles. So now there are two pairs of similar triangles are there. Correct? So now these two, this one and this one, this one and this one, they share a common one pair of corresponding sides in common, that is BC dash by BC is common to these two as well as these two. When this side, this ratio is 3 by 4, definitely this by this must be equal to this by this should also be equal to 3 by 4. Therefore, this is our required triangle which is similar to this triangle and obeying the scale factor 3 by 4. So, this is the justification that we are trying to give you. The same thing is written here, children. You can just see it is given in our textbook. You can go through this, and you can see here all the steps are written very neatly. You can also try to practice this immediately after the construction. Okay. So refer X.6.1 and practice with justification the 7 problems given in our textbook. Please do the justification only if it is asked in the question paper. Otherwise, you need not do that. It is not compulsory. Okay, and otherwise you need not do it. If it is asked only in the examination, do the justification. Otherwise, you should not do it, and don't waste your precious time in the examination. And you should not write the steps of construction. There is no marks allotted for this. So, in exercise 6.1, so look at these 6 problems. In the second problem, the measurements of 3 sides are given and the scale factor is 2 by 3. In the third problem also, the same 3 sides, the lengths of 3 sides are given and the scale factor is 7 by 5. Fourth one is isosceles triangle construction we have to do with the scale factor 1.5 times we have to construct. Fifth problem, 2 sides and an included angle are given and the scale factor is 3 by 4. Sixth one is 2 angles and a side are given and the scale factor is 4 by 3. And finally, the third one is 2 sides and an included angle and the scale factor is 5 by 3. So, in the first case scale factor is less than 1 and in the fifth case also it is less than 1, and in all the remaining 4 cases the scale factor is greater than 1. So, in other words, in the examination you can expect the scale factor to be greater than 1 or lesser than 1. You should be able to construct this without any difficulty. So, the fixed problem is very interesting. It is an obtuse angled triangle. Fourth one is an isosceles triangle. Problem number 1 is to just divide 7.6 in the ratio 5:8. So, please children, practice all this problem and try to get 3 out of 3 in the public examination. So, the last one is construction of pair of tangents to a circle from an external point. So, here is an image. See here, so much of working has to be done, construction has to be done in order to get a pair of tangents. In the previous class, we have proved this theorem that these two tangents are equal. Now, in this section, we are trying to understand how to construct them also. Okay. Construct a pair of tangents to a circle given, see, in 4 ways you can think of this problem. Distance and the radius and the distance from the center to external point, or from the circle to external point can be given, or it can be radius and the angle between the tangents can be given, or the third choice would be radius and the angle at the center can be given, and finally length of the tangent and the distance from the center to the external point can also be given. So, in this case, in the fourth case, we need to find the length of the radius using the Pythagoras theorem, and then we have to start the construction. So, these are the 4 ways children in which you can think of this construction. And one small note for you, instead of radius we might have given the diameter can be given also children. So, do not forget it to make divided by 2. So, if you take the diameter as radius and construct it, you cannot expect even a half a mark for it. So, please read the question carefully. RQC, read the question carefully. So, let us take an example, one example for this. Construct a pair of tangents to a circle of radius 3.5 centimeter from a point at a distance of 12 centimeter. After this, you have to measure them also and verify. So, for this construction, we are going to give you 2 marks for this. So, shall we start this children? Okay. First, draw a circle like this. So, the radius has to be 3.5 centimeter. Call this as circle number 1. Okay. With the center, from the center you measure 12 centimeters like this. So, this point is the external point, this is the point P, from which we have to draw a pair of tangents to this circle. Okay. For this, we have to find the midpoint of OP. For this, you are not allowed to use the scale and choose the midpoint. Instead, we have to draw the perpendicular bisector for the segment OP with the help of compasses. So, that can be done like this. With O as center, you take the radius more than half of this OP. So, OP is this, half is somewhere here, something greater than this. You take that much as radius and cut an arc above and below of OP. So, with P as center, with the same radius, cut these 2 previous arcs. Okay. Now, call the point of intersections as D and E. Take scale and try to join the points D and E. So, this D will intersect our line OP at C. So, this angle is 90 degrees. Therefore, this angle, both of them are adjacent angles of a linear pair. Once this is 90, this is also 90. So, by drawing perpendicular bisector of the line OP, we obtained the midpoint of OP. With C as center, with CO as radius, you draw a smooth circle like this passing through O and P. With C as center, with CO as radius or CP as radius, you draw this circle children. Now, this is called circle number 2, C2. Okay, this circle 1 C1 and this circle C2 are intersecting at these 2 points. So, this is one point, call it as A. This is another point, carefully note down this is point B. Okay. Now, having located A and B, just it is enough to join P and before that please make a note of this, A and B are nothing but points of intersections of circles C1 and C2. This is circle number 1, this is circle number 2, these are the 2 points of intersection. Now, join P and extend a little, join PB and extend a little. So, they will be the required answer, they will be the tangents to this circle number 1. Okay. Now, join OA, join OB, you know that this angle has to be 90 because this is a semicircle, angle in a semicircle is a right angle. For the same reason angle OBP is also 90 degree. So, let us call this OA the radius as R and this distance from point O to P as D and this as T. So, the length of the tangent is given by root of D square minus R square, it is just because of Pythagoras theorem. Okay. Now, in the same figure, this is the length of the tangent, formula for the length of the tangent, substitute D as 12 and this is 3.5, square it, subtract it, take square root, it is 11.4. So, now you measure AP as well as PB, it will be exactly equal to 11.4. So, but we will give the marks even for from 11.3 to 11.5. So, plus or minus 0.1 margin will be given to you. So, actually it has to be 11.4 centimeter. So, for square root of 131.5 by division method, this is how we are going to calculate the square root for by division method. So, here also we are getting in the same square root only, we are getting one decimal place we have calculated, it is 11.4, this is square root by division method. Now, there are some interesting points to be observed. So, OAPB, look at this quadrilateral children carefully. This is 1, second, this is third, this is 4, there are 4 sides are there, therefore, it is a quadrilateral. In this quadrilateral, these two are opposite angles. So, this is 90 for the reasons which you already know. If you take the sum of these two, so it will be equal to 180 degrees. Don't you think so? When in any quadrilateral, if the sum of the opposite angles is 180 degree, then it has to be a cyclic quadrilateral. Okay. So, OAPB became a cyclic quadrilateral. When once OAPB became a cyclic quadrilateral, these two pairs of opposite angles should also be equal to 180 degree. So, angle AOB plus angle APB should also be equal to 180 degree. As an example, say if this angle is 60, this has to be 120. So, if you are asked to construct the tangent such that the angle between them is 60, so what is that we have to do? We have to take 120 here, that is all, and draw these two radius such that the angle is 120. So, draw the perpendiculars at the non-center end, they will become the tangent with the angle between them as 60 degrees. So, children, practice makes a man perfect. There is a famous quotation is there, and there is some small amendment has been brought into this, not just and the practice makes a man perfect. So, only the perfect practice will make a man perfect. So, practice all the problems given in our textbook. There are only 2 constructions are there, 5 marks is given allotted for this. So, practice all these and try to get out in the public examination. So, first we have to draw a circle. For this radius will be given with O as center. You draw that line segment. to the external point. The distance will be given from the center to the external point. Now we have to draw the perpendicular bisector for that line segment. So this is how we are going to do with the help of compasses. Join them, you will get the midpoint of that line segment. With this midpoint as center and with this much as radius, we draw another circle. So this is called circle number 2. So circle number 1 and circle number 2, they will intersect at 2 points. These are the 2 points which are shown in blue lights. So join these points of intersection with this external point in order to get a pair of tangents which are equal. For the purpose of verification, you join center and the external point so that you get the radius. With the help of Pythagoras theorem, you can do the verification. Thank you very much.
My dear students, this is Channappa KM, Assistant Teacher, Government Junior College High School Section, Devanahalli, Bengaluru Rural District. I heartily welcome you all for the Pariksha 1 day revision classes. My dear students, in this class, we will recall some important concepts of the lesson magnetic effect of electric current, along with few demonstrations, along with few questions. My dear students, this is very important lesson for the point of view of examination. You can expect a diagram, you can expect a statement questions, you can expect a HOTS, that is higher order thinking questions, what we call application level questions and all. Let's learn the concepts one by one. Magnetic field and field lines. My dear students, you have all played with a magnet. You have idea about the magnet and its property. The magnet having the property of attraction. When we take a iron nail nearer to it, it attracts. When we take another magnet to a magnet, definitely we feel two forces. Either it is an attractive force or a repulsive force, depending upon the poles of the magnets. Yes, these are all known to you people. When two magnet attracts, when the poles are unlike, in that cases they attract each other. If the poles are like poles, definitely we feel repulsive force. Then my question is, what is a magnetic field and what are magnetic field lines? Are you recalling them? Yes. Magnetic field means, or the region around a magnet where the force of attraction or repulsion can be detected is called magnetic field, and this magnetic field around a magnet can be detected by using magnetic compass. So this magnetic field is going to be represented by imaginary lines. They are called as magnetic lines of force. Magnetic lines of force. Then what are the properties of magnetic lines of force? Here you have. The first property is magnetic field lines emerge at the north pole and merge at the south pole. They are going to emerge from north pole and they are going to merge in south pole. So this is outside the magnet. Then what about inside the magnet? The direction is quite reverse. Inside the magnet, the field lines from south to north direction. Then the magnetic field lines are denser or they are more at the poles. You are seeing here the magnetic lines are more at the poles. Then magnetic field lines do not intersect each other. They will not intersect each other. They keep on pushing each other. You are seeing the arrangements of the magnetic lines of force. So these are some important properties of magnetic lines of force or magnetic field lines you have to remember. My question is, what happens when a current is flowing through a conductor? There is a flow of charges. That is the thing you know. there is another phenomena along with the flow of current. Let's see what is that. Here I am showing you an experiment. I have connected a straight conductor to a battery with the help of wires. I have used two magnetic compass here. So what are the uses of magnetic compass? So the most important use is it is going to be identify the magnetic field. Here the deflection in the magnetic compass gives us the existence of magnetic field around a conductor. When we are going to see the magnetic field in this case, ಯಾವಾಗ ನಮಗೆ ಈ ಕಂಡಕ್ಟರಲ್ಲಿ ಮ್ಯಾಗ್ನೆಟಿಕ್ ಫೀಲ್ಡ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ? ಆಸ್ ಸೂನ್ ಆಸ್ ವಿ ಪಾಸ್ ದ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಥ್ರೂ ದ ಕಂಡಕ್ಟರ್. ಈ ಕಂಡಕ್ಟರಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಕರೆಂಟನ್ನು ಪಾಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ಗಳು ಫ್ಲೋ ಆಗ್ತವೆ. ಅಲಾಂಗ್ ವಿತ್ ದ ಫ್ಲೋ ಆಫ್ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್, ಮ್ಯಾಗ್ನೆಟಿಕ್ ಫೀಲ್ಡ್ ಇಸ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟೆಡ್ ಅರೌಂಡ್ ಎ ಸ್ಟ್ರೈಟ್ ಕಂಡಕ್ಟರ್ ಕ್ಯಾರಿಯಿಂಗ್ ಕರೆಂಟ್. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ವೈ magnetic compass shows deflection. Understood? Okay. My next question is, you are identified magnetic field there with the help of magnetic compass. Then what is the direction of the magnetic field around a straight conductor carrying current? How do you identify the direction of the magnetic field? The magnetic field around a straight conductor carrying current is concentric circles. Here again we are seeing, in case of bar magnet, you have seen like the bow like arrangement between north and south pole. Here in straight conductor carrying current, you will have a concentric circles. Can it be considered as a magnet? Definitely. ಸ್ಟ್ರೈಟ್ ಕಂಡಕ್ಟರ್ ಕ್ಯಾರಿಯಿಂಗ್ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಒಂದು ಮ್ಯಾಗ್ನೆಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಟ್ರೀಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದಾ ಅಥವಾ ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದಾ? ಡೆಫಿನೆಟ್ಲಿ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್. ಯಾಕೆ? ವೈ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್? ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ಎ ಮ್ಯಾಗ್ನೆಟಿಕ್ ಫೀಲ್ಡ್ ಅರೌಂಡ್ ಇಟ್. ದೆನ್ ವೇರ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ದ ನಾರ್ತ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಸೌತ್ ಪೋಲ್? ಎಲ್ಲಿರುತ್ತೆ ನಾರ್ತ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಸೌತ್ ಪೋಲ್? ಆರ್ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಅಟ್ ದ ಎಂಡ್ಸ್? ಆ ಎಂಡ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುತ್ತಾ? ನೋ. ಯಾಕೆ ಎಂಡಲ್ಲಿರಲ್ಲ? Because we are not at all showing magnetic lines or field lines from one end to the other end. We are showing perpendicularly. So that's why here you are seeing, if the direction of the current is upward, here the direction of the concentric circle you are seeing. Here, see? So it is started at other side of the conductor and they are coming like this. Then, so that end will be a north pole and this end will be a south pole. If you are going to consider any particular position between the two sides of the current carrying conductor, you can notice north and south pole. ಗೊತ್ತಾಯ್ತಲ್ಲ? ನಾರ್ತ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಸೌತ್ ಪೋಲು ಎಂಡ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಕಂಡಕ್ಟರಲ್ಲಿ ಇರಲ್ಲ. ಅದು ಪರ್ಪೆಂಡಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಆಗೇ ಇರುವಂತಹ ಕಂಡಕ್ಟರ್ನ ಯಾವುದಾದ್ರೂ ಎರಡು ಭಾಗವನ್ನು ನೀವು ಆಪೋಸಿಟಾಗಿ ತೆಗೆದುಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ, ಸೊ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ನಾರ್ತ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಸೌತ್ ಪೋಲನ್ನು ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಕ್ಯಾರಿಯಿಂಗ್ ಕಂಡಕ್ಟರಲ್ಲಿ ಐಡೆಂಟಿಫೈ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ಮೈ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಈಸ್, ಹೌ ಡು ಯು ಐಡೆಂಟಿಫೈ ದ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಮ್ಯಾಗ್ನೆಟಿಕ್ ಫೀಲ್ಡ್ ಲೈನ್ಸ್ ಅರೌಂಡ್ ಎ ಸ್ಟ್ರೈಟ್ ಕಂಡಕ್ಟರ್ ಕ್ಯಾರಿಯಿಂಗ್ ಕರೆಂಟ್? ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಈಸಿ ವಿತ್ ದ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಆಫ್ ರೈಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಥಂಬ್ ರೂಲ್. Right hand thumb rule help us to identify the direction of the magnetic field lines around a straight conductor carrying current. What it says, so when we hold a current carrying conductor in our right hand like this, ನಾವು ಹೀಗೆ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಒಂದು ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಕ್ಯಾರಿಯಿಂಗ್ ಕಂಡಕ್ಟರ್ನ ನಮ್ಮ ಬಲಗೈಲಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, the thumb pointing upwards indicate the direction of the current. If the current is flowing upward, it is indicated by thumb. So here see the arrangement of the fingers. See, I am showing you arrangement of the fingers. It is going to cover the conductor in a anti-clockwise manner. If the direction of the current is upward, the arrangement of the magnetic field lines in anti-clockwise direction. Then if the current flowing is downwards, then the arrangement of the field lines in clockwise manner. So this is what right hand thumb rule says. If a current carrying conductor is held in the right hand such that the thumb points the direction of the current, then the fingers wrapped around the conductor shows the direction of magnetic field. I have a few more questions for you. My question is, so consider this one as east and this one as west. If the current is flowing from east to west, then what is the direction of the magnetic field lines when we see from east side? And what is the direction of the field lines when we see from west side? Let's see, it is easy to understand. So use the right hand thumb rule, hold the conductor like this. So see from east side, we will get clockwise direction, the alignment of the field lines in clockwise. Then if you see from west side, the magnetic field lines are in anti-clockwise direction. Very simple. Magnetic field due to current through a circular loop. You know how the field lines around a straight conductor carrying current. Let's understand how the magnetic lines of force in a loop or a circular coil. Here I am showing you the circular coil. So here, if the ends are connected to the battery, current will flow through the coil. If there is a current in the coil, there is a magnetic field around it. If there is a magnetic field around it, there is a magnetic field lines. If there is a magnetic field lines, they are concentric circles at a particular point. So I am showing you 2 points. In these 2 points, magnetic field lines are circular in manner. So here are in these two. If you consider any 2 ends like this, any 2 points. If you consider any 2 points, there you will have magnetic field lines are in circular manner, concentric circles. So what happens if you go to the center of this loop? So definitely the lines are straight, they are appears to be straight. So when current is passed through a circular conductor or a loop, the magnetic field produced in the form of concentric circle around the conductor towards the center. The arcs of the circle become larger. You are seeing here the arcs are smaller. So if you move on to the center, the arc becomes larger and larger, and at the center they appears as a straight line. So this is the thing you have to notice in case of magnetic field due to a current through a circular loop. So you have to practice this diagram. The magnetic field due to current in a solenoid. You all know what is a solenoid. A solenoid is a cylindrical arrangement of the copper coil, insulated copper wire or copper coil. How it is arranged? Yes, the solenoid is like this. I am showing you slinky. So this slinky is in the form of a cylinder and having loop like this. If the coil is arranged like this in a cylindrical manner, that becomes solenoid. A solenoid is a circular coil of insulated wire in the shape of cylinder. What happens when we connect this solenoid to a electric current or a current source? Definitely there is a flow of current. If there is a flow of current, definitely there is a magnetic field. Then how will be the magnetic field around a solenoid? Are there concentric circles? Whether it is going to be behave like a bar magnet? Yes, let's see. So when current flows through a solenoid, it behaves like a bar magnet. The first important thing you have to notice, a solenoid behaves like a magnet when we are going to pass current. The ends of the solenoid behaves like north and south pole. So just like a bar magnet, we are going to identify, we are going to notice north and south pole of a magnet. The magnetic field produced by solenoid is similar to that of magnetic field produced by a bar magnet. Bar magnet ಹೇಗೆ ಮ್ಯಾಗ್ನೆಟಿಕ್ ಫೀಲ್ಡ್ ಅನ್ನು ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೋ ಅಥವಾ ಮ್ಯಾಗ್ನೆಟಿಕ್ ಫೀಲ್ಡ್ ಲೈನ್ಸ್ ಅರೌಂಡ್ ಬಾರ್ ಮ್ಯಾಗ್ನೆಟ್ ಹೇಗಿರುತ್ತೋ ಹಾಗೇನೆ ಸೊಲಿನಾಯ್ಡ್ನಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. The strength of the magnetic field depend upon strength of the current and the number of turns of the coil. So here you are seeing the arrangement of the coil in a solenoid. If you are going to increase this turns, then definitely magnetic field is going to be increased. Or if you are going to increase the current which is going to be passed through the solenoid, in that case also there is an increase in the magnetic field. here I am showing you the magnetic field around a solenoid. Here the ends of the solenoid is connected to the battery, that is positive terminal of the battery is connected to the one end, and negative terminal is connected to the other end with the help of key. Then if the current is passed through the solenoid, so definitely you can see the magnetic field around it. Then magnetic lines of force are emerged at north pole and they are going to be merged at south pole. It is just like in case of bar magnet. Here see the direction of the magnetic field lines with respect to the direction of the current provided to the solenoid. See, when the end is connected to the positive terminal of the battery will be the south pole, and if the negative pole of the battery is connected to the solenoid will be the north pole. You have to connect it negative terminal with north pole, N to N. It is easy to remember. Then how will be the field lines inside the solenoid? What is the direction of the field line inside the solenoid? It is from south to north. Let us go to the next concept, electromagnet. What is an electromagnet? You have played with the electromagnet in your previous classes. How can we prepare an electromagnet? It is simple. If you are going to wind copper wire to a nail and the ends are connected to the battery, so when you switch on or as soon as you are going to connect to the battery, it behaves like a electromagnet. It is going to attract iron like substances. We are going to use the solenoid to prepare electromagnet. A strong magnetic field is inside a solenoid can be used to magnetize a piece of magnetic material like a soft iron when placed in the coil. Such magnet is called an electromagnet, or an electric current is passed through a wire wound around a piece of soft iron. It behaves like a magnet. Such magnet is called an electromagnet. So this is how we are going to prepare an electromagnet. See, here I am showing you an experiment, how an electromagnet works and how it is going to be attract when it is going to be loses its property. See here. Here I have wound copper wire to a iron, a soft iron. As soon as I switch on the current, it is going to be attract. It shows magnetic property. If the switch is off, it loses its magnetic property. It is a temporary magnet. Electromagnet is a temporary magnet. So it behaves only when there is a current in a solenoid. ಎಲ್ಲಿ ತನಕ ಆ ಒಂದು ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರೋಮ್ಯಾಗ್ನೆಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಇರುತ್ತೋ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತನಕ ಮಾತ್ರ ಅದು ಮ್ಯಾಗ್ನೆಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಬಿಹೇವ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ಕರೆಂಟನ್ನು ನಾವು ಆಫ್ ಮಾಡಿದರೆ ಇಟ್ ಲೂಸಸ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಮ್ಯಾಗ್ನೆಟಿಕ್ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಟಿ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆರಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಕಂಡಕ್ಟೆಡ್ with a small voltage like 3, 4 or 5 voltage. You can conduct this experiment by the help of 9 volt battery. So don't try an AC current. Please use small voltage. You can use batteries to conduct this type of experiments. So before going to know more about the lesson, so let us recall the things which we have recalled already with the help of some sample questions. Here you have some questions. What are magnetic field lines? You are capable to answer for all these questions. Is it right? Yes. Write the properties of magnetic field lines. Name the rule used to detect the direction of magnetic field lines around a straight conductor carrying current. State right hand grip rule. What is a solenoid? How do you detect the poles of magnetic field in a solenoid? What is an electromagnet? Explain the method of preparation of an electromagnet. How do you increase the strength of electromagnet? So these are some sample questions for you. Our next concept is force on a conductor carrying current in a magnetic field. You know that current carrying conductor having magnetic field around it. What happens that conductor when it is placed in a magnetic field, another magnetic field? Definitely it has to be feel either the force of attraction or repulsion. See, observe here what is going to be happen. Here I have taken a coil, copper coil. I have connected the ends of the wire to a battery, and here I have another magnetic field. So what happens when I pass the current through a coil? See, it jumps out, it displaces. Why it displaces? Due to the presence of mechanical force there. So this is how a current carrying conductor, when placed in a magnetic field, experiences mechanical force. This relationship is going to be explained by Fleming with his left hand rule. See what Fleming left hand rule says. If you hold the thumb, forefinger and the middle finger of the left hand perpendicular to each other such that forefinger points in the direction of magnetic field, the middle finger points in the direction of current, then the thumb shows the direction of force, that is the direction of the mechanical force on the conductor. So we can write in a simplest way like this: forefinger indicates direction of the magnetic field, then middle finger indicate direction of the current, and the thumb shows the force or the motion of the conductor. So if you are going to arrange our fingers like this, left hand fingers like this, they are mutually perpendicular to each other. So this finger is perpendicular to this finger, and this finger is perpendicular to this finger, and these two fingers are perpendicular to each other. So if you are going to hold like this, so main finger indicates the mechanical force acting on the conductor, so due to the magnetic field and the current. So forefinger indicates the direction of the magnetic field, and the middle finger indicates direction of the electric current. So we can see the direction over here. So one is upward, and one is this one this side, and one other is this side. This is mechanical force on the conductor, this is magnetic field, and this is electric field. Now come to the electric motor. What is an electric motor? What happens when we provide current to a electric fan? Definitely it will rotate. What is the change in energy takes place there? Electrical energy is converted into mechanical energy. Motor is a device which convert electrical energy into a mechanical energy. What is a motor? Motor is a device which convert electrical energy into a mechanical energy. So here you are seeing the parts of the motor. Here N and S indicates magnetic field. ABCD is a rectangular coil of insulated wire which is connected to the copper ring, and copper rings are connected to the carbon brushes, and external circuit is connected to the battery. So when we provide current over here, it will rotate, and the direction of the rotation which is going to be identified by using Fleming left hand rule. So here I am showing you two different diagrams of the electric motor. You can use any one diagram in exam. Either you can write this one or you can write this one. See, here I am showing you another model of electric motor. Here I have connected the circular coil to a battery with the help of this pins, yes, safety pins. See, here you are seeing a bar magnet. It is placed on the bar magnet. So as soon as we provide the current, so because of the mechanical force, it is going to be rotates. See, this is another reassembled motor. So it is taken out from the toy car. I have used bar magnet below it. So if I am going to connect electric current like this, it will rotate. If you change the direction, it changes its direction of rotation. You can conduct all these things in your home with the help of a low voltage, a small voltage like 3 volt, 6 volt and 9 volt battery. Yes. Let us come to the commercial motors. You know the difference between a motor which is used in toy car and a commercial motor. Commercial motor means the motor which is used in flour mills, textile mills, and the motor which is used to pump water, they are all commercial motor. So what are the specialities in commercial motor, or what are the parts of the commercial motor? Means it has 3 important parts. They are an electromagnet in place of permanent magnet is used, large number of turns of the conducting wire in current carrying coil and a soft iron core on which coil is wound is called an armature. This enhances the power of the motor. So, which enhances the power of the motor? This armature. Now, come to the electromagnetic induction. Whenever there is a change in magnetic field with respect to the coil, there will be a induced EMF. So, that is what we call electromagnetic induction. So, we are going to notice induced EMF when a magnet is pushed inside the coil, that is going to be identified with the help of galvanometer. In the same way, if you are going to take it out, if you are going to withdraw the magnet from the coil, then there also we can notice the deflection in the galvanometer. So, here in both the cases deflection is opposite. EMF is going to be induced only when there is a relative motion between magnetic field and the coil, otherwise no induced EMF. See, another experiment I am showing you. So, here see, I have wounded coil in a solenoid manner. So, I have used a magnet in front of the piston. So, I am moving in and out. So, due to the relative motion between the magnetic field with respect to the coil, so electricity is inducing here. So, with that induced EMF, bulb is glowing. Sorry. Fleming right hand rule helps us to establish the relationship between direction of the motion of the conductor and the magnetic field and the current induced. So, what it says, so if you hold a right hand, our right hand, 3 fingers like this, main finger, forefinger and the middle finger mutually perpendicular to each other. So, this main finger indicates the direction of the motion of the conductor, then forefinger indicates the direction of the magnetic field and middle finger indicates the direction of the induced EMF. So, now come to the electric generator. You know about electric motor which convert electrical energy into mechanical energy, but electric generator converts mechanical energy into electrical energy. Here I am showing you the model. See, here there is a wheel which is connected to a motor. So, when I provide this mechanical energy for the wheel, definitely there is a current. So, with the help of that current, the electric bulbs are going to be glow. You can see in the experiment. It is going to be works on the principle of electromagnetic induction. So, here I am showing you the animations regarding electric generator. So, we have to provide mechanical energy for this rectangular coil and we can notice the induced EMF with the help of galvanometer. See, these are the 2 different diagrams for electric generator. You can write any one of the diagram in exam. So, the construction of the generator is similar to that of motor, but only the difference is in case of motor we are going to use battery in the external circuit, but here we are using galvanometer to identify induced EMF, right. So, here N and S indicates north and south pole of the magnetic field, ABCD is rectangular coil which is connected to the copper ring, copper rings are connected to the carbon brushes and the carbon brushes are connected to the external circuit. It is going to be connected either to a bulb or to a galvanometer. So, here it is a 3D diagram and it is a 2D diagram. You can use any one or you can write any one in exam if it is going to be asked. Here I am showing you how EMF is going to be induced in a generator. See, it is a motor. I am providing mechanical energy to a motor. So, that mechanical energy is going to be converted into electrical energy. So, here bulb is glowing due to the electrical energy produced in the motor. Now, let us compare dynamo and a motor. What are the similarities between dynamo and a motor? What are the differences between a dynamo and a motor? So, we can understand with the help of diagram easily. So, what are the similar parts in between two? So, this one is a motor, electric motor because external battery is there, external source, Here it is a generator or a dynamo because of the galvanometer. So here N and S, in both the diagrams you are seeing N and S magnetic field, in both the diagrams you are seeing ABCD rectangular coil and copper rings, carbon brushes. These are the similarities between a motor and a dynamo. Then what is the difference? The difference is only one thing, or we are going to see the battery in the external circuit, we are going to see the galvanometer or bulb in the external circuit of a dynamo. So these are the similarities and differences between a dynamo and a motor. Let us understand what is direct current and alternating current. What is direct or DC current? A current that always flows in one direction only is called direct current. The direct current we get from battery is called a direct current or a DC current. So battery is the main source for DC current, 9 volt battery, 12 volt battery, etc. Here it do not changes its direction. But what about alternating current? It is going to be change its direction periodically. That is what we call alternating current or AC current. So here the most power stations in our country produces alternating current. AC changes the direction in every 1/100th of the second and its frequency is 50 hertz. And what is the one important advantage of this AC current over DC current is AC current can be transmitted over a long distance without much loss of energy. Now come to the domestic wiring, very important topic of the lesson. So as you all know that a fuse is installed in the domestic current and electric meter you can see, and there is a 3 different wires. One is a live wire, another is a neutral wire, another is earthing wire or earth wire. So these are indicated in different colors. So here electric power to home is supplied through the mains. It has 2 wire, one is live wire with red insulation, we can see the red color of the wire, and the other is neutral wire with black insulation, and the potential difference between these 2 wire will be 220 volt, and the earth wire, that is with green insulation, is connected to a metal plate. So that is kept in the ground, you are seeing here. See, and also you have to remember 2 separate circuits are used. One is of 15 ampere for appliances with high power rating like geyser, air conditioner, etc. The other is of 5 ampere for fan, bulb, etc. If the device consumes more electricity, we need to use 15 ampere circuit. Then if the device uses less current, we have to use 5 ampere circuit. The different appliances are connected in parallel so that every appliances get equal voltage, and even if one is switched off, the other is not affected. So this is the advantage of parallel connection at our domestic wiring. They will ask a question, write the advantages of parallel connections in domestic wiring. For that you have to write this answer. The appliances having metallic body like electric iron, refrigerators, etc., their metallic body is connected to the earth wire, so that if there is a leakage of current, it passes to the earth and prevent the electric shocks. These 2 are very important in domestic wiring. So we have to be very careful about overloading as well as short circuiting. When overloading occur, overloading is caused due to increase in voltage, or if the live wire and the neutral wire comes into contact, or if too many appliances are connected in single socket. In all these cases, it results in overheating of the wire and can cause damage to the electric circuit and for the appliances also. So when does a short circuit occurs? Short circuit is caused when live wire and neutral wire comes in contact and the current suddenly increases in the circuit. It causes spark, fire and damage to the circuit and appliances. Let us see some sample questions on the lesson. So here I am showing you some model questions. You can prepare like this many more questions. See another questions you are seeing here. What precautions should be taken to avoid overloading of domestic electric circuit? A coil of insulated copper wire is connected to a galvanometer. What will be happen if bar magnet is pushed into the coil, withdrawn from inside the coil, held stationary inside the coil? When does an electric short circuit occur? So these are some sample questions you can expect in exam. You can prepare more. Yes, my dear student, I hope you have all recalled all the concepts of this lesson with the help of some questions, with the help of some demonstrations. Now you are capable to understand any type of questions which is going to be appear from this lesson, and I request you should refer the textbook again, read the lesson again. So make the important notes and be prepared well, and I wish you all the best, my dears. Thank you.
ಭೀತಿ ತೊರೆಯುವ ನಾವು ಪರೀಕ್ಷೆ ಬರೆಯುವ ಪರೀಕ್ಷಾವಾಣಿಯ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿ ಕಲಿಯುವ
ಖಾಲಿ ಜಾಗ ಭರ್ತಿ ಮಾಡಿ ಹೊಂದಿಸಿ ಬರೆದು ಲೆಕ್ಕ ಮಾಡಿ
ಚಿತ್ರ ಬರೆದು ಭಾಗವ ಹೆಸರಿಸಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗೂ ಉತ್ತರಿಸಿ
ಪಾಸು ಫೇಲು ಗೆಲುವು ಸೋಲು ಜೀವನ ಎಲ್ಲಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಮಿಗಿಲು
ಅಂಕಗಳೆಂದರೆ ಮೇಲಿನ ತೊಗಟೆ ವಿದ್ಯೆ ಅದರ ಒಳಗಿನ ತಿರುಳು ಭೀತಿ ತೊರೆಯುವ ನಾವು ಪರೀಕ್ಷೆ ಬರೆಯುವ ಪರೀಕ್ಷಾವಾಣಿಯ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿ ಕಲಿಯುವ ಪರೀಕ್ಷಾವಾಣಿಯ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿ ಕಲಿಯುವ ಪರೀಕ್ಷಾವಾಣಿಯ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿ ಕಲಿಯುವ